Welcome back, everyone, to Rebook, the show where we talk about wrestling storylines and the men and women slapping me in the middle of the square circle. I'm Golden Boy, and of course, we have Matt, we got Jake, and we're talking about all the stuff that happened this weekend. It was one hell of a weekend. It's so much wrestling that we literally cannot cover it in this show. We're going to cover the big beats for the most part, but if you happen to like what we do over here, make sure you give us a like, make sure you sub, and if you're listening on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, wherever you listen to podcasts, rate, review, and participate in our question of the week. But you will find that out at the end of the episode. Now, gentlemen, topics for today, WrestleMania review. Next up, what happened on Monday Night Raw? Because goodness gracious, that was the craziest Raw after Mania. And then, in the midst of all of this, AEW has broken through the noise. But the thing is, we don't talk about dirt sheet stuff on this show. But here's the thing. This is storyline related. This is storyline related, and we will talk about that at the end, like as we get closer to the end of the episode. So make sure you stick around for that. That said, let's move on to WrestleMania. Okay, guys, this was unreal. This, like, from the beginning, I'm just gonna, if you guys would allow me just 1 minute to just say, I told you so. I told you so. No one believed me. And you said the Raw after Mania, that made more sense. And you had me second guessing myself. But I thought to myself, guys, what would be cooler? And it was Damian Priest holding the title. It was great. But the way it happened was awesome. Despite CM Punk's involvement in the whole situation, I wasn't really too crazy about his commentary in the match as much, but his contributions at the end were awesome. Guys, agreed. What do you think? What do you think about the opening matchup? What do you think about just everything that happened? Because my God, it was awesome.
I mean, first, one, just to kick off the bat, I'm pretty sure, well, maybe we'll discuss it as we go on, but I'm pretty sure if you go back and watch some of our shorts or our videos and our podcasts, we all individually, I think, have called different things that absolutely went down the way they did at Mania. I'm not saying we're geniuses, but we're fucking geniuses.
I think so.
Anyway.
I think so. We're kind of good at it.
That was it did not, now this match is, I thought it would be the squash. It wasn't. But it was,
bro.
Yeah,
it nearly was.
When he hit him
My
with the
heart
Claymore, I was
stopped
like,
right
"Oh my
at the
God, we
beginning of
called the
that match.
squash! We called the squash!"
But it was a very, even before that, let me highlight. I thought Seth's entrance was awesome. That Mummers group and everything. The incredible. Yes. I wasn't sure if it was like Dia de los Muertos or if it was like a Mardi Gras, but it was like a combination of all things. Apparently, it's a very like summer Philly thing.
Yeah.
But man, those costumes were awesome. Seth looked incredible. Drew
Seth felt like a big deal. Seth just felt like a big deal, like that. I think what I was really worried about was in regards to the World Heavyweight Championship, where they would fit it in the show. And it's actually kind of cool that this year they were really talking about the openers, and I think that it's reinforcing that the opening matchup is starting to become just as valuable as that main event matchup.
It's a pace setter,
Yeah. They did it two times. They did it two times, right? They had Rhea, Becky, and that was a pretty solid matchup. It was a good way to kind of start the show, and also Rhea going over was great. I mean, it was just an overall solid match, but then Seth versus Drew definitely carried that energy into day two.
And I've gone on record on this. And Becky was on record too. She wanted the opening matchup kind of thing. And I went on record. I remember when she said that, and I was like, it may seem weird, but that's super common. And I know it's super common sense to me and other wrestlers. Yeah. But everybody says that basically, if I'm not in the main event, put me on first. Because main event, you're the biggest deal on the show, which is very cool. But then other than that, that first spot, you're fresh out the gate. The audience is ready to go. You are the one, you're getting them fresh. You're setting the pace. And it's a really important spot, too.
Yeah. No, it was awesome, man. I got to say, that was a good way to kind of start the show both nights. I think to kind of blow, one thing that I am going to point out that we mentioned this in the show, and I'm a little bothered that it did happen, but it is what it is. The Final Testament and the Pride street fight, we said the Final Testament needed to win that, or else what's the point? And I kind of feel like, especially with Snoop Dogg involved in the match, it definitely felt more like a feel-good kind of Mania moment rather than this is something that is like pushing forward. So I have no idea what happens with that, but I did feel like there were a few of those on the show. I'm a little also disappointed. I think Jimmy and Jay wasn't as good as I would have liked it to be. It was still a good match overall, but the storytelling in the match kind of lost me a few times. It was like really obvious. And
hold up. I'm gonna stop the show here. I can't believe we're blowing past this or whatever, and we're gonna talk about that. But GP,
wow.
like we started this segment talking about our thoughts on Seth and Drew. One, I don't think we barely got Jake's thoughts on Seth and Drew. But
oh my God, you're right. I
honestly,
so right.
because I haven't been able to talk to you in the flesh since the cash-in and everything happened. I know it was a big deal. Like seriously, talk to me, talk to everyone.
I don't want to make it a thing.
But that's awesome. It is that shit is important. But that's what
this
is cool. So I want to hear you.
That's what this podcast is, man. It's celebrating the good about wrestling.
Yeah, no, for sure. I mean, listen, I was at work. I was
right,
which was really funny because I'm like watching it. I'm doing my job, and I'm doing I'm like freaking back and forth, and I knew I had a feeling, man. I had a feeling once like he went out and started like goading Punk. I'm like, something's not right. There's just no way that Punk is just gonna sit here and take it. And then it turns out, his arm is fine, and then he just like swept over Drew. And I think at that point when he was on the ground, that's when I stood up. And I was like, this is happening. This is happening. Like I just said it. I felt so bad for my coworkers because they were just looking at me. They're like, what is he talking about? I was like, this is happening. This is happening. And then boom, the Judgment Day music hit. And I lost my shit. I couldn't believe it. And I knew the moment that he got out there that it was locked set. Like this wasn't going to be some goof cash in. They weren't going to throw him under the bus. Like they were believing in him. And what was really cool is Damian Priest, Punishment Martinez, incredible wrestler. He is the second world or WWE champion of Puerto Rican descent, which is really cool. The first being Pedro Morales. Forget what year, but that was significant.
I mean, 70s probably. Yeah. I think.
Yeah,
Pedro. I don't think it was 70, maybe early 80s, but I mean, it's been 40
1959 was his.
Was when he first.
Yeah, he trained under Barbaroja and to become a wrestler and participated on a card held in New York City in 1959. That was his first match, I believe. That is nuts.
40, 50 years later.
Wow. Yeah. So, and also the first Triple Crown champion as well for. I think WWE, or just in general. I'm not too sure. But yeah, so, it's a significant thing for me. And there were little tears, I won't lie, but it was awesome. I was really stoked. And it was also just great to see him go over very quickly, right? Rather than it be like, like when Ziggler cashed in and they kind of made you believe it wasn't going to happen. Like, no, he just threw him in the ring, hit him with that choke slam bomb that he's got. I mean, the height he got on that shit.
Dude, Drew
you could tell.
leapt for him.
Drew leapt for him. He vibed in the mall. Everything was just like boom. And it just was so... It was so freaking well done. And then the Judgment Day coming out. And also, I want to give a real shout out to JD McDonough because I really think this dude is the unsung hero of this team. The tweet that he had where he was talking about like Judgment Day, it was like two Irishmen, a Puerto Rican, a Mexican, and an Aussie, are trying to change the world. And I'm like, fuck yeah, man. That just makes that's what wrestling's all about. So getting a little emotional, but yeah, it was awesome.
That's awful nice from a guy who was talking a lot of shit about JD not very long ago.
Hey, you know what? You're right. But he was also the MVP in that tag match too. He had he really I think brought he helped to kind of like
shame Johnny Gargano just murdered him. Just
I mean it is.
He did play Bump Monkey again.
Yeah,
like he did in War Games.
Yeah, which did. He's good at that. It's kind of like Kevin Owens. It's like he's just very good. How they get up and wrestle the next day, I will never understand. But it's very impressive. And yeah, speaking of though, from that, I think it's important to note tag team split. Another thing that we called flat out. We knew that shit was going to happen.
Hold up, though. I know we're moving on.
So much happened.
But I do want to point out one final thing in that Drew, Seth, Punk, everything. That set so many stories. It completed and then set off other ones. We talk about story on this podcast.
It really did.
I wish I could take credit for this. I think we kind of talked about it, but I saw a thread somewhere on Twitter. I forget who it was, but they made a really great point of the story. Dude, all for these last few months, Drew, what have we talked about? Is telling Seth, you're focused on Rock, you're focused on the Bloodline, focus on me, motherfucker.
Yeah,
I'm the threat. I'm the threat. He won. I told you, Seth. Boom. And what does Drew do? He takes his attention away and goes to Punk and says, see, put it in your face, all this stuff. And he turned his attention away.
He asked for Punk to be there, too. He told Punk to be there.
He was too obsessed in the wrong direction, and he paid for it big time. So, like, starting that, which we knew was going to come, completing the Seth storyline, but, like, paying that off with his own misaligned obsession and then punish that with Punishment Martinez himself, Damian Priest. And, like, it wrapped up and launched many stories.
It does make me wonder, what was Paul Heyman and Drew McIntyre talking about?
I'm telling you, I think that was literally just that night. I think we may be overlooking. I hope it pays off in like 2 months and I go I eat crow. But I literally think it might be one of those things like, hey, Paul, help me out in the main event. Distract everybody. I'm going to beat up Seth like they did when they all fought. I don't know.
Maybe. Yeah. Yeah, there was that whole thing with the World Heavyweight title was just very well done. From the match to the post-match. And even the follow-up, from Raw, which we'll talk about later. Triple H said in the press conference that they want to make the World Heavyweight title feel desirable. And I think that speaks a lot, especially coming from Triple H, the guy who, when I think about the person who holds in WWE the World Heavyweight title, I don't know why, it's always Triple H. It's I always think about Big Gold around Triple H's waist. In the WWE era, obviously. Sure. In the WCW one, I think it's definitely Goldberg. But yeah, I think it's like awesome that he said that, and it makes me wonder, are they going to keep doing this thing with the main event, where like they have the main event be one title, and then the opening match be the other title, and then they treat both of those as like important bookends of an overall show?
I think they should.
Yeah, I think it's a pretty smart direction. Jake, what did you make of the opening few matches? I guess we could do it like night 1, night 2. Your pick, dealer's choice.
Man,
so much to talk about.
Yeah, there really is a lot to talk about. I think, man, it's just the whole show, top to bottom, was great. Both of them. I think even, I think the matches right before the main event were phenomenal too, because you had Bayley beating Io Sky, and that was a good match for me. What was I'm jumping the gun. My favorite match of the weekend was Sammy and Gunther.
Yeah,
I mean, that was just. The main event was, of course, just the overbooked mess that I wanted it to be.
Yeah.
Like, just the biggest ice cream sun, like pile the toppings on top of the sun. I want the sprinkles, I want the fudge, I want the caramel, I want the nuts, I want the whipped cream. Give it all to me. Yeah. Just throw it all on there.
I felt like that was the whole weekend. Weirdly enough.
Well, to an extent it was, but man, that Sammy Gunther match was... Oof.
Sammy Gunther was the steak. It was a hearty, fortified meal, and then you got your dessert with
guys,
that. Guys,
I'm hungry now.
You just got the sugary mess.
Me too.
I'm a little hungry.
Yeah, I'm starving.
I really... Dude, you're so right, man. And so what was it about Sammy Gunther that made you feel like it was just chef's kiss,
First of all, just I thought the match in general was great. There were a lot of great spots, a lot of great moments. And I think the storytelling and oh my God, let's talk about the opening shot.
I was waiting for you to mention that. Oh, and we know
Let's
his name.
talk
We know his name now. Lee Fitting is the guy responsible for all the crazy production things. So go on, yeah, because that opening was nuts.
I'm a disciple of Lee.
Hell yeah, dude!
Just great job, Lee. Yeah, but that moment with him and his family in the back.
That's when I knew.
Oh
That's
my God!
When you knew. But still,
when that happened, I was like,
"Oh, this is special."
Yeah, exactly. And then he runs into Kevin, and Kevin pumps him up, and
the Kevin pump up was awesome.
But that long walk with him pumping himself up, up the
all
ramp,
the way.
Man, that was so good.
Yeah.
It was so good. All it was missing was him rolling up in a church parking lot in a Thunderbird asking the priest to throw down a prayer for him before he goes and fights Gunther. And then it would have been exactly Rocky. It was great.
I think the prayer was
so
Kevin
good.
Owens. I honestly think that's what it was. You know, it was like he saw him and then it was like, all right, showtime. No, it was incredible, man.
Yeah.
The match was great.
But yeah, just that,
only criticism I had was I
Mm-hmm.
really did wish that they gave Gunther like a bigger entrance. I thought he really did deserve like a big entrance. But also he strikes me as a person who doesn't really care.
No-nonsense guy.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And the zoom in did look really sick though. Like that whole zoom in shot that they do with him and the white background, that still is always sick. But
He almost looked like M. Bison when he came out. That was the first thing when I saw him in that jacket. I was like, he looks like M. Bison.
Yeah.
That's badass.
Yeah. Oh,
and then he just walks down the ring. But him talking shit to Sammy's wife during the match and just toying with him.
Can we
like a lion with a mouse, just batting him around, playing around with him was so good. And then him finding every bit of power and strength and everything he had left to get up and bring. I mean, God, it was great. Dude, what a great match! What a great moment for him.
And I'm sure you guys kind of felt the same way. And I know I did. Like going into this, and credit to Chad Gable. Like in those leading up months, everyone was like, this was almost like a Cody situation where it was when Sammy won that gauntlet.
Yeah.
Which everyone knows Sammy's great. It wasn't that Sammy's bad. It was just that Gable's got this great little story going. Like, and it's a moment for him to break out. And we want that moment for him, and I think we do. But I don't know about you guys, but I had during the middle of that match, I had that like, oh, this is why he's in this spot. This is why they're doing this with him. When he did, it wasn't a Hulk up. I don't even want to call it that because it's so not cartoony and over the top. Like when he started just thrashing around and trying to get life back into himself, and the entire crowd, this is semi-main. This has been a long night. They weren't that
freezing
hyped
their
for the
asses off.
Usos. They weren't that hyped for some of the other matches earlier on, and it was cold. But when Sammy started doing that, they started coming alive. He knows how to just wrap all that emotion in and really connect with people, and it was just it was so. And the first time he ever hit the buckle brainbuster, he's attempted it. He's always had it countered. He's never hit it in WWE, and he hits it in one of the biggest wins.
Yeah, because that was like the other guy's big move back in the day that Sammy stole, right? The luchador that he met many moons ago, who oddly enough has a familiar body shape to him. But we'll move.
Well, it's how he's able to pull it all off. It's the only way.
Yeah, it's great. No, that was the only way. That was a fun. That was definitely a great matchup, Jake.
And it felt like this was gifted. This moment was gifted to Sammy for everything he's done over the past year or two. I mean, it almost felt like you say, "Hey, do you have Sammy beating Roman Reigns at WrestleMania?" And they're like, "No, but we have a diet version of that." And I'm like, "This still tastes exactly like the real thing. It's just diet. There's no sugar." That's what this felt like. Like it was
so good.
It was another big moment of him beating this big, unbeatable monster. And who better to do it than the underdog?
Yeah.
I mean,
the ultimate underdog.
It was great. The ultimate underdog.
Yeah. Oh, dude.
Fantastic.
Got me thinking about it again. That matchup was so good. And that was night one. That was night one.
That was
night one. And I felt satisfied.
Was the diet version of night two in my
honestly, yeah.
Agree with you there.
That's true. Yeah. That's true. Oh man. All right. So for the thing for me is while the Damian Priest cash in was big and I loved it, it wasn't actually my favorite match of the night, as a matter of fact.
Do tell.
Because I genuinely, my favorite match of the night, I will have to go, for me, was that main event. I fucking loved it. That was so fun.
I can't believe they went 45
That
minutes.
was so fun.
Wait, which main event are you talking about? Night one?
Sorry,
or
night
one. The tag
Okay,
match.
yeah.
We're definitely not breaking my own rule. I just really enjoyed what they did with that. That was crazy. Like, how do they... 45 minutes, Rock comes out there, and honestly, real big shout out to him, because he had a lot of really fun moments. He took a lot of really wild hits, and I didn't expect that. Dude, I was so mad that Cody and them didn't win. That Cody got pinned. But yeah, it's just, again,
Told you.
the story.
Which I think we called that also.
Yeah, you guys, you definitely did. I thought the safe money. See, I was going into this thinking like Vince style booking. Where it's like, gotta make them look strong, whatever. No, we're past that now. Now we're in the storytelling era.
The bad man is gone.
Yes. And then now we're in the storytelling era where, like, the things that make sense are what they're doing. So yeah, that was actually a really well constructed match.
Up is up and down is down, and and left and right or left and right.
Who would have thunk it, man? Yeah, that was definitely, like, I would say that was like my favorite. I just enjoyed, because it was like a really good way to kind of like set that tone. It was the perfect main event for night one of WrestleMania. The way that they had, because it built into something, right? And we had made the joke that we'd be talking about it for 24 hours later, but like it had ramifications, and that we learned later on.
Which was the first time they've done that with the 2-night Manias. They've always just all had like 14 separate matches over 2 nights.
Yeah.
This is the first time you had something like a through line.
Yeah, as a story fan, I enjoyed that. Yeah.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah. It was
and
go for
and
it.
the match itself told a story, because it was just supposed to be a simple tag match. And it just felt like a bigger stakes version of the kid you're playing, backyard baseball with or whatever, who just keeps changing the rules because you're at his house and he's mad that he's losing. That's what it felt. Where it's like, no. Rock just being like, this is what we're doing now. Nope, this is what we're doing now.
Yeah.
And it just, trying to have it just be a tag match at first, and then it was like, no, now you're not going to count us out. No, now we're going to go all over the place. Now we're using weapons. Now we're using
and Rock being in there was just so perfect, because he was like throwing that authority around so much that it was like, oh, this all makes sense. Of course this is happening, because he's the boss. This match isn't ending. This is basically a no disqualification match, like, no matter how you slice it.
And what was great about that match is it didn't just set up stakes for the next night. It set up stakes possibly for the next year or more. Because and we'll talk about Raw later, but because exactly one of the things that we discussed is now Rock has something over not only Roman but Cody.
Yeah, which is like really cool to see long-term storytelling, or like clearly being implemented. And it not feeling like they're trying hard to like get this notice. Like, no, they're just very obvious that these things are happening, and stuff will happen down the line.
Everything's not like completely linear. It's just it feels like choices they're making now and decisions that they're making with the storytelling is branching. It's branching into multiple, so they're not writing themselves into a corner. It feels a little more free, a little open to, let's see, what story do people want us to tell right now. It's like you see it and you're like, yeah, why haven't you? And we know why you haven't, but why haven't you been doing this for fucking years?
Yeah.
Why haven't you been doing this forever? This is the best stuff.
It is crazy.
I mean,
it is crazy.
Yeah, it's just it's beautiful to finally see, the better aspects of storytelling into the craft that we've all I can't speak enough about how great this weekend was. It felt like wrestling's coming out party again. It kind of felt like, hey, guess what? We're back. We're here. We're better than ever. Get on board now. Like,
Yeah.
What a
Which is
weekend.
why, if I may, my real like just thing that kind of dragged it for me only was just the unnecessary shots that everyone's just like taking at each other. It is kind of taking it away from me a little bit as a fan, because I really feel like across the board everything has just been so freaking good. Like, you can honestly just pull up wrestling across a variety of different promotions at this point, and you're gonna find high quality. Like, everyone's like putting out such great work right now. It feels like it's like AEW came about and really changed and challenged, like the upper echelons of professional wrestling, which was WWE for the longest time. And now, like, they have made very smart decisions and pivoted their storytelling. And it kind of goes back to what I was saying last week, where, like, you can have different kinds. Like, there's nothing wrong with that. And I feel as if that is what we're going to experience, because what WWE is really focusing on here is really harping in on storytelling, whether that's in the back. I mean, they started off Raw, and we'll talk Raw a little bit more, but just want to say this real fast. They started off, I think it was a 45-minute promo, or just 45 minutes total of that segment. No wrestling whatsoever. People were lapping it up. They were perfectly fine with it. So, like, that's what they want. And then I think there's an audience that wants good pro wrestling matches. Just like the way that there's an audience that likes good luchador matches. Just like the way there's an audience that really enjoys Japanese strong style. Or, independent style wrestling. Like, man, it's so sick. There's so much cool shit.
I almost feel like I shouldn't even say this, because it's going to start us in a whole new tangent. But, and I don't have my phone in front of me. On that short that dropped, that we put out with you talking about that, GB, talking about the flavors of ice cream out there. Somebody actually did put out a pretty interesting comment, and I'm so sorry. You know who you are if you're listening to the show. My phone is being used as a camera right now, or I'd look it up. But something that I think AEW needs to lean into more and be cautious of is their point in the comment was, that's great and it's fine, but AEW a lot of the time seems like they are trying to be now, they know they're different. They know they put a little bit more wrestling first, but in a lot of ways, production and the way they study their shows is like, if you're going to always try to be like them, you'll always be a step behind. So I think they need just to veer even more into their strengths and to be a little bit different, as opposed to just like the same kind of production, which I get. WWE's kind of they've been the standard, but
I mean, no one does live production better than they do. I mean, genuinely, because they literally have built a system like over the course of decades now, of
they have more practice at it than even the NFL does, because it's literally every damn day.
And they're doing international shows now, which means because they have the TKO merger, so obviously whatever bookers they have over there that are booking venues, like, I mean, that's a logistical wildfire, and they're pulling it off, man. Like, I mean, I just think about it as like a guy who used to run events in esports, and it is hard to get a couple of Xboxes together. I can't even imagine what it's like to do the shit that they managed to pull off. It's genuinely nuts. But let's go ahead, though. Let's actually, I mean, is there anything else that we want to talk about with WrestleMania? Because I feel like we all kind of agree that it's awesome, but if we
didn't talk about the main event.
Well, I know. That's why I'm saying we're going to move on to the main event. That's where we are. Don't worry. I got you. Guys, I will never go past that main event. Okay, so I don't care what anyone says, but that was a 5-star match. That was a 5-star performance. Let's just put it like that. That's how I feel. It was a
5-star spectacle.
Yeah, it was a overbooked, just absolute insanity. It was like, it's like, when you were a kid, right? And you had those old toys, the old toys that in the old ring, then they only did the one move, right? They only did the one. It's all the ones that Mark Cardona and those guys have in the pod, right? I remember just having some wild fights, in the middle of my ring. And then out of nowhere, the Undertaker comes out and the Undertaker beats up. And I think the guys in the middle of the ring was always, for me, it was like, it was always Bret Hart and for some reason, one half of the Bushwhackers, I forget which half it was, but for some reason it was probably Luke. It was always those two fighting, right? And then I don't know where the Undertaker shows up and does something, and then I don't know where Ultimate Warrior shows up, and I had the one where you like move his feet and his arms moving, and I had that shit, and you know, like that's what that main event felt like.
Here comes Michelangelo from the Ninja Turtles.
Here comes Michelangelo from the Ninja Turtles.
Here's underwater Batman.
Superman is here now, and Mr. Freeze, and it was just like everything that you could possibly ask for. It was actually beautiful, and it's very hard to say that, but it's weird to say that about a wrestling match, but it was actually beautiful. It was like just beautifully done. It just felt like a storybook dream come true. That was nuts.
You know, there were a lot of people on that first video we posted on Instagram.
Go for it. Speak it, baby.
Who talked a lot of shit.
Lot of shit
about my theories. And I didn't really say anything. I said something to a couple people, but I was like, you know what? At the end of the day, the dust will settle.
The proof will be out there.
And I will be vindicated because I was right. I was right. It was Avengers Endgame. Everyone that wronged was that the bloodline wronged came back. I mean, it was all the main event was missing was Seth saying, "And I am the architect," and snapping his fingers as Cody Rhodes gives the triple cross Rhodes. That was the only thing that was missing from that moment.
He did. Metaphorically speaking.
Okay, well then there we go.
What do you think he did? This was another, which is beautiful storytelling.
It was
Why
good.
the hell did he come out in Shield music and dyed his hair Shield outfit to get knocked the fuck out? Friday style. You know what I mean? But it wasn't about hitting Roman or anything. He knew I'm going to get jumped, but he stood there. He looked over his shoulder, back to him. He got the chair into the ring. That's all he needed to do. And he knew that Roman Reigns could not resist getting revenge on the one wrong that he has never been able to get revenge on. The breaking of his heart, the breaking of his family of the Shield.
Because what does Roman value more than anything else? Loyalty.
Damn.
That is and at the end, what broke him was the betrayal by Seth. That deep-seated hatred that he's had for him is what ultimately made him
took his eye off the ball.
And you know what?
At the right time.
Seth told Cody, I will be your shield. And he took the hit for Cody. That was honestly, it was just really well done.
If I may quote that Paul Heyman meme, give me that shit. Put it right in my lungs. Put it in my veins. Ooh, that was good.
Yeah.
And everybody, to continue what Jake was saying, everybody out there who in the last couple of weeks, IGN, I'm looking at you, talked about, the Rock is Thanos, and this is going to be like Avengers, and that guy who made that really cool 3D little movie with all the wrestlers. It was very cool. We like you, but you did that after us. We're taking credit. I don't care how arrogant it sounds.
We did it.
Jake, and the Rebooked Pod.
That's it. We did it.
Right.
We claim ownership because I didn't see that shit anywhere. I didn't see that shit anywhere. Dude, it was
before us.
I mean, look, and here's the thing. I'm sure people thought about it. People thought about it because it makes perfect sense, but it wasn't out there. Okay, it wasn't out there. I can't wait for people to be like, "Wow, these guys are obnoxious." Oh yeah,
I haven't learned by now.
It was fantastic for so many reasons. I will say though, the just Seth though, the way he got laid out, I was dead. Like Cynthia, my wife was watching with me, and she was like, where is he? What the hell's going on? And then he just got punched, and he's just like laying there like Family Guy style. It was just the silliest, funniest look, especially because like they got the first shot and then they got the second shot, and it was like dead, even more dead. It was really, really funny.
All I could imagine was Chris Tucker on Friday.
Yeah.
That's all I could imagine. I was looking for that footage.
Fuck out! Yep. Dude. Oh man. That was What a great match.
So good.
But there was more. There was more. So it starts out, you know, you get Jimmy and Jay, and you kind of knew that was going to come. You knew that was going to happen.
That spot was better than the whole match that they had.
Yeah, it was.
It was
actually
awesome.
It actually was.
Yeah.
But then you get Solo coming in to do the thing that, you know, what happened last year when Solo showed up, and I mean, was that when he joined? That's when he joined, right? Last year, or no? Solo was already there on the Bloodline when he did
I'm 99% sure he was already with them.
Yeah,
Like,
back in the first match.
Yes.
For Cody Roman 1, yeah. But he showed up, did the whole, you know, hand thing, and then messed him up. That caused him to match. Then that's when a seed that was planted way back. And shout out to Michael Cole, who, by the way, was just stupendous all night long. Absolute brilliant calls across the board. He says, John Cena's here to get revenge on Solo Sikoa. I was like,
really quick on that note, too, which, yes,
so
absolutely.
good.
But I do want to give one extra shout out to Michael Cole just because he's awesome, but also because, and this is a thing I learned in WWE, so like I don't think it's new, but I think he has more freedom to play with it. Silence at the right moments. He let, I think, the first 3 minutes of Cody's entrance night 2, amongst other, there were other moments like that, but I remember I was like, oh my God, he's just letting this moment happen. Thank you. Tom and me talk about that all the time.
Yeah.
Us saying shit now?
Yeah.
Number one, we're going to have 50 minutes to do it during the match.
Right.
Yeah.
But number two, like, it wouldn't help this moment at all. Just let this breathe, let it happen. So shout out to that for happening.
That can... I love that when they just let the moment speak for itself and let the reaction of the crowd. There was Kevin Harlan, who's a play-by-play announcer for like NBA games and does a lot of like the March Madness games. There was a huge upset last year, and they filmed the commentators during the game for this game, and after this big shot is made with just a couple seconds left on the clock, he like put his arms out in front of his fellow commentators to say, shut up and just let the crowd speak, you know, and let that moment breathe. And I love that. I love that. It's fantastic stuff.
It's in esports, we have a very similar thing where it's like, especially when you work in like an arena or a stadium show, you just kind of want to let that moment speak for itself.
Yep.
It's something that like a lot of newer commentators really struggle with because, you know, when they're only just commentating over like Discord or, you know, online.
Keep talking.
Exactly.
Yeah, you're worried about dead air. But I even say, like, you know, even in those situations, dead air is still perfectly fine.
Right.
Like, you don't, I am not of the belief that commentary needs to be nonstop yapping. You gotta be able to say a lot with a little. I've learned a lot in my time working in Valorant and also in my time doing like wrestling for a little while and you know, even like TV show, like there definitely was just, there are little things, and you hear Michael Cole, and honestly, a shout out to the entire commentary team, the entire announce team, everyone. Samantha Irvin was lights out, on fire. Congratulations to her. Although I would have loved to have hear Mike Rome do a few calls. It still was, Samantha Irvin knocked it out of the park. And then obviously, you know, the Pat McAfee was. There are times where I'm like annoyed, and then he brings me right back in.
Shut up.
He's so fucking charming at times.
He's incredibly entertaining. He's incredibly charming. To that point I just made, he needs to shut up sometimes. There's a couple of times people are cutting promos or there's an entrance that's really good. And he's like, wow, that's cool. Why'd he say that? He's like, you're great. Just...
I will say though, I think it's a little bit of Pat also being
a fan.
It's
sure,
like the,
he kind of plays that role.
I think he just
He's
plays
the
that role,
kind of voice.
Yeah, sure. Right. Whereas like Corey and Cole are very like, you know, they're
polished pros.
Yeah, exactly. And also Corey Graves was sitting in a chair 3 position tonight, honestly, or for both of those nights, slotting very well between subtle play-by-play as well as doing color commentary. So that I thought was just like, WWE has leveled up their commentary across the board, but it's very clear that it was not the people that were there, and it was the direction that they were getting because now it feels like there's a lot more just leeway to do what they want to do.
And you can see
Michael
that.
Cole saying, "I love professional wrestling."
You can see that in the
mind.
whole product, man. Even the fact, like when you mentioned the fact that Sammy did that buckle brainbuster, he never would have been allowed to do that 6 months ago. There's no way. There's no way. You can see the kind of freedom that the wrestlers have, that commentary has, that production has, because that's the best shit. People are finally getting to do what they've wanted all along, which is to collaborate. If it's a good idea, it doesn't fucking matter where it comes from.
Coming from two XG4 people.
That's the best. Oh, my God.
Dude, you know what's crazy? He says, Triple H said, look, man, we're just having fun. And if something works, we'll do it again. If something doesn't work, we won't do it. And that's that. And I'm like, holy shit, dude. It's so great to just hear like a corporate guy just be like, hey, we're going to try this shit. If it works out, great.
It's
it's
amazing what you get.
Because
it's amazing what you get when you let people who've gone through it make some decisions instead of just putting people in there who don't know what the fuck they're doing.
I know, it's insane. I mean, we're obviously speaking from our trauma, but as former G4ians, but Matt, I'm sure you can also relate to it as well in your career.
Absolutely. So it's coming from a place you can feel it, and as someone who worked there, you can feel it too. It's just coming from a place of there's not one rule book anymore. For a long time, there was a rule book that changed on one guy's. It did change, but on one guy's whim. Yeah. And this is more of a. There's still it's not just like everybody do what you want, but it's just like there's a lot more like, can we try this? Sure.
There's a lot more purpose.
There's a lot more.
I feel that purpose
and freedom to grow.
Yeah. Like
Triple
even when
H, I'm sure gave everyone a copy.
A lot of people are just
life when he started out. Everyone read this. This is what I'm basing everything.
Get yourself help. Get yourself help. Oh man, yeah. Well, anything else we want to? I mean, we talked about Undertaker coming out. We haven't talked about Undertaker coming out. Oh my god, dude.
Yeah,
that was another one. That was just like perfect. And
it was cool.
Okay.
Like no, my only thing, I did have a little bit of it was cool, and it made it easy with the lights off, lights on. It made it for like timing and everything. But like, I did. Part of me thought, I'm like, at that point.
I know that's the
that was a perfect glass break moment.
Would have registered on an earthquake.
You thought place
New York suffered an earthquake
asunder
this way. Philly would have been in shambles today. I mean, but still, that moment with Taker
still awesome.
Was pretty awesome. And a buddy of mine. Oh, of course he did.
Rock.
That's the other thing. Rock was like, you forget how great Rock was at selling, and he still is. But that moment. Yeah. That moment was. Yeah. And a friend of mine was asking. He was like, it's a cool moment, but why is Undertaker there? What's the point of him helping out? And my thing was, Roman beat him at Mania. And he left his gear in the middle of the ring. That was like obviously not the last time we saw Undertaker, but it felt at that moment like, that's kind of when, that's when that version of the Undertaker went away.
Someone had a really good one, and these were my thoughts as well, but they kind of put it in a better way, because I had said that Undertaker is the ultimate final boss, and has been for a very long time, whether it's in the locker room, whether it's in the ring, just in general. I think so many people have just come to respect him. But in wrestling, he has been viewed as that kind of person. You get a match against The Undertaker, there was a point in time you get a match against The Undertaker. That was a big deal, right? Just getting a match against The Undertaker at WrestleMania was a big deal. But Fairfall on Twitter said, because I asked in a tweet, and he had said, The Rock was the final boss of Cody's story, but The Undertaker is the final boss of WrestleMania. And I actually really like that, that it's like you messing up in Taker's in his yard, his actual yard,
and there's a little layer to it too, like for sure. And I think there's even something you could tie into Cody himself, and like Taker's the ultimate old school guy. I mean, he goes all the way back to when Dusty was around and stuff like that. And probably, and here's in the wrestling world, in the kayfabe world, whatever you want to call it, here's this kind of young, brash guy who's taken over the WWE in the last few years. And while he's awesome and he's talented, he's too big for his britches. It's too much. It's over the line. And the ultimate old school guy who has a lot of respect for Cody and his family and the old school wrestling world that this all comes from has got to take that bad guy down.
He came back to remind
so he can fit in.
No. This is always my yard. And it was great. Great.
Oh yeah. And also too, The Rock was brilliant in that whole thing as well. And I love the outfit, the all white, with the final boss emblazoned in the back. And it was all just perfect, It was.
Oh my God! It was so good. It was terrifying and awesome. Yeah. It was perfect. It was so good. I loved it.
Yeah, he has just found this. Second gear, third gear, I don't know, but it is a brilliant continuation of the Hollywood Rock gimmick. It feels like it just carried forward, and he definitely he gets a little loopy there from time to time.
He's having promos. I think it's only because he's having too much fun. That's exactly. He's having too much fun. Just like, I don't want to. I have to go away, and I really don't want to.
Yeah, I remember him. Telling me. When we did Titan Games, I remember him specifically telling me that playing a face is always hard, but playing a heel, that's where you get to have fun. Yeah, I remember he mentioned that to me because we were chatting. I had asked him if he was still keeping up with wrestling, and he had said, yeah, he would. He still does till this day. Doesn't watch everything, but he was watching the big things, and I think at the time AEW was starting to spin up, so we had a good chat about that, and I think it's kind of cool, It's I saw it happen in real time. He's having the time of his fucking life, man. I mean, and then Cody finishes the story in a way that was dramatic. It was awesome. It had emotion through and through. That was
guys. I mean, Cody. The one thing about it, I know we've made a lot of jokes, and I know a lot of people have made a joke. So, God, we've been hearing finish the fucking story for fucking 3 years now. Oh my God, it's just a catchphrase at this point. But you look back, I'm and it's all real. He's got such a good fucking story.
It was real. It was a real story.
Dude, the son of a very famous wrestler came up, and then it didn't quite cut it. Had to head out into the wilds. Took a risk on himself. True, that's all real. Nobody was writing this. It's all shit that happened, and then to come back, people bought in it, rode along with it. All this stuff, it could have been contrived. They could have forced it, but they didn't have to because it's just real shit. And I think people believe, like anything, they believe what he says.
Cody Rhodes conviction is the most likable and relatable nepo baby of all time. Because it was because
he's had that story of struggle.
A legend. He lived in that shadow, and he could never get out of it. He couldn't, and he couldn't figure out who he was, what he wanted, how he could accomplish it. And like you said, left, did his own thing, and man, I teared up watching Cody win that thing because it felt like being in that pit in The Dark Knight Rises. You've been in that shit, experiencing some of the worst things in your life, and then you watch somebody crawl and climb and claw their way out of that pit, and it's except the freedom is accomplishing your literal dream. And it's like you just watch this man enter a portal, a sky blue portal of pure joy. Knowing that feels like having your brain dipped in pure heroin and rolling it in Dorito breadcrumbs and deep frying it in a euphoria that no one has ever experienced.
Yes.
And you're just like, damn, he made it. He made it. You can't help but be happy for that guy. You got to watch a man's literal dream come true. It's unbelievable. What a moment.
Yeah.
Now I'm hungry and I want to get high.
Yeah. Dude, it was a beautiful thing. I'll never forget. I think it was a tweet that I saw, but I just don't forget the image of Cody getting that dream tattoo, and just knowing that like he had a plan, for himself, and then that plan got bigger and then bigger and then bigger. Because I don't think that in his wildest dreams he could have imagined it being like this exactly.
Absolutely not.
There's just no way, right? Especially with the state of professional wrestling and where it was at the time, where he was at the time professionally.
And,
there it just
and the fulfillment
it is
you have
wild
to feel,
that
he has to
pulled
feel
this off.
That it happened this way. You know what I mean? Like it wouldn't have meant then what it means now.
Yeah.
If he had accomplished it. Like. Yes.
And, oh my God, the pivot is the ultimate. Like, we were already kind of going to there. He was, he's probably going to win something big at Mania. Like, it was already kind of on that path. He came back. But that pivot was like the ultimate last thing. Like, you're just not quite the guy yet, right? And then people just fought back so hard. Said, "Fuck that."
Because he was the guy. He was clearly the guy. Like, there was never like it's crazy to think that like that would have been doubted, but I guess you just needed that moment. You needed that flip that we want Cody proved
people power,
that people
man.
did in fact want this rather
the
than
idea he was. Like I said, man, he was a guy. Like, I'm not saying that he was just going to be like buried. He was a guy. He was probably going to win maybe the world heavyweight title or some other big match. Like, he's going to be in the main event for years to come. I don't think that was in doubt. But like the guy, when people wanted to see him more than the goddamn Rock, that's when they had to stop.
Wait.
And I'm very curious to watch this documentary they're going to drop, which will be tonight when this airs.
Which is maybe
I'll be very
the
curious
second
to see
most hyped behind the scenes footage coming
out
out
about that
on Wednesday.
Yep.
More on that in a little bit.
We gotta go on Raw.
We got to hit Raw, boys, right?
We got to hit Raw.
after
We got to
Mania.
hit Raw, but just
quickly.
to put a little cap on WrestleMania, 2 nights of heaven. It was unbelievable. I'm so elated, and I think everyone is just so thrilled with how awesome it was. And the future is genuinely bright for not just WWE, but for professional wrestling. Words are hard. And also excited about Monday Night Raw because they decided to mix things up a little bit, and the Raw After Mania was done in the Wells Fargo Center also. Shout out. Did work the Wells Fargo Center years ago for the Overwatch League Finals. And that's an awesome venue. That is, they let that place be seen, which I thought was awesome. Triple H in the press conference said that, their goal is to feature the fans more, to show people caring more. And they did that. They definitely do that. And I think that set design, I wasn't too wild about it personally. It did take away from some bigger moments that could have happened, but honestly, doesn't matter because it was sick to see that many people filled out that building.
Especially for the Mania week shows that they knew they were going to pack to the gills. Mm-hmm. Now, as we go months and months, I think they're going to get back to a little bit more of a traditional Raw SmackDown set with a bigger screen.
Yeah.
Because not every single... Hopefully they keep selling stuff out, but it's not going to be like every available fucking seat in the building. But,
I wouldn't be shocked if we get new sets.
I still think that because they did it in Chicago, they had that. It was still a big screen, but it was a smaller footprint.
Yeah,
like there was still maybe some people behind it, but it was a little bit like stuff like that.
Yeah.
I mean, if you can cram these buildings and feature that crowd more, it brings the energy up.
Oh,
for sure.
Yeah.
It definitely does, and
they,
also
they,
too,
and that crowd after Mania is all they boo people they normally cheer, and they cheer people they normally. What was that they had JBL say 1,000 times after Manias?
That didn't happen this time around.
No,
I didn't feel like anyone was trying to take over the
They
show.
booed who they wanted to boo and cheered who they wanted to cheer. It was great.
And it was all good. It all worked out because everything that you'd want to have happen happened. So that was awesome. Well, let's go ahead and start off. Do we want to start off with the promo, or do we want to just cover the matches and then the promo? Because also the main event was pretty big too. So I don't know what would be the best way to do this. But, I mean, I guess we could just start off by just here's what we'll do. We'll go through all the matches real fast. Then we'll talk about the Fatal 4-Way, and then we'll talk about the promo.
Let's do it.
So going through the matches real fast, you had Shinsuke Nakamura versus Ilya Dragunov from NXT. That was a great match.
And it was at this point that they declared the draft is coming back and Dragunov is available for it.
That's true.
So that was kind of a way to highlight that.
Love it.
Yeah, and it was just a good match. I was bummed to see Shinsuke Nakamura lose, but he's an excellent wrestler, and that is okay.
It's exactly. You're not wrong.
He's the new Dolph. And I say that with both like an unfortunate but also a lot of respect. And I think Nick knows what I'm talking about. Shinsuke's kind of falling into that spot as like, motherfucker's good. We can put him out there with anybody. He'll make him look good. He'll have a great match with them.
Yeah.
I don't know.
And beating him is believable. You know, like beating him
they're
is
always
big.
a threat to win. They're always like a believable win if they do win.
Yeah.
Nobody'd be surprised if Shinsuke won because he's good. But it's also that person where you're like, are they ever going to pull the trigger?
Yeah.
Well,
You know what I mean?
they
Kind of
did
that
years
role.
ago, but it just wasn't as good as it could have been, you know.
Sure.
But maybe we'll see. Hopefully something comes for Nakamura, especially with the draft around the corner. That could maybe be a good opportunity to invigorate a lot of people. Then we had Roxanne Perez, new NXT Women's Champion, go up against Indy Hartwell. That kind of continued the Candice Indy story, where Candice is clearly a bad guy and trying to convert Indy to the dark side. She just needs to use her force powers, and maybe it'll be possible. We'll find out next time in Dragon Ball Z. So that was a lot of pop culture references in one go, but that is basically how that match felt. Yeah. And that was also a match to set up as well. This would have already happened, but we had Roxanne Perez versus Natalya. I'm expecting a great match. You should watch NXT. Then we also had Judgment Day making their way out to give Rhea and Damian Priest that spotlight, that moment of both of them making their way out.
And it was stolen.
And who else? Yeah, the other member of the
I'm going to let
Judgment
you
Day.
guys take it from here because this was just a good... This was just from the beginning to the end. I was like, where the hell they're going with this? My God, I did not expect it.
Yeah.
So,
I mean...
Go for it. Jake?
Or Matt,
whoever.
Jake. No, please,
Well,
please.
it's just...
I know how much
you
you love
have
this.
you have a great moment. It was more great camera work of Damian and Rhea standing there holding up their titles, and then someone comes in through the ropes and sticks a Raw Tag Team Championship up in the middle.
Oh my
and
God.
It's R-Truth. And their reactions to him were perfect. It was perfect. The whole moment was it was great. I brought the titles back to Judgment Day. Oh, just great. R-Truth.
I love it.
Yeah.
You got to love that. We talk about in the world of these brand new, awesome sweeping tracking shots, these depth of field 8K cameras they added at Mania, all that. Sometimes, man, you just need an Abbott and Costello style, like,
Yep.
just appear into frame
and a good
for a
yeah,
huge
exactly.
reaction.
Yeah.
Yep.
And he he is so good with his comedic timing as
Yes.
well. Because there was a moment where Miz was saying something and I could tell Truth was going to jump in, but then he immediately realized it was not an opportunity for him to jump in, so he backed out real quick. And I'm like, dude, that is just good awareness as a performer to just understand when you can come in, because I'm sure no one knows what the hell he's saying, like when he's going to get out there. Like no one knows what his whole angle is going to be. They know where he's going to land. They probably just don't know how he's going to fly the plane.
Yeah.
You know? So it's just crazy,
I wonder
man.
if at this point, like it's like if R-Truth is like Donnie Brasco, of where it's like, I don't know where Ron Killings ends and R-Truth begins. I don't know who they are anymore.
Oh, I thought you were gonna say like R-Truth and his like Judgment Day personality. Like he's convinced he's a part of the mob.
Yeah.
He's convinced he's a part of the Judgment
Yeah.
Day still. He can't figure out what's
Right.
real, man.
Yeah, he is lost in the sauce. And then Miz coming on and being like, Truth, I don't want to be in Judgment Day. Like, that was just another good like line. You could tell Miz is also having fun with it. And now I'm just so happy for Miz. He deserves this kind of like feel good, happy run that he's going on
right?
here. Because the Miz is always like doing the I'm awesome and I'm the best and you know all this stuff. And it's just nice. It just
he was on
perfect.
McAfee with Truth on Monday, and I think he had said something like, "So I'm getting cheered now, and I don't know how to deal with that because I'm not used to it."
Yeah.
So, but yeah, you can see he's having fun, and congratulations to Truth getting to have a 6-man tag with his childhood hero.
Bro, the commentary was just. They were like, he's in there with his childhood hero, John Cena. I'm like, I'm losing my shit.
I love it. I love that we got a little Jimmy reference there at the beginning, and man, it was just great.
And then John Cena comes out. John Cena just showed, and obviously he showed up the night before, so it's not just like random. He was there. He was present in Philadelphia. But for him to just come out for a 6-man tag match and just have like a real awesome feel good moment with R-Truth and The Miz. That was a cool moment too, seeing Cena and Miz, especially given their history as well. Because I think some people really harp on their Mania match from back in the day. So it was just kind of cool to just see them have a cool bro moment in the ring. That was nice. So we got a Jade Cargill squash match, which. That kind of led to a thing of were you okay? There were like a decent amount of squash matches on this Raw. Is that okay, Matt? Did you?
I think it's okay in certain regards. I think for Jade, it's probably still in that realm. It's good to just kind of get her over, powerful. Mania did a good job of that. She was used perfectly, and so I think. Yeah, you're going to need to do that with the right people. I think Chelsea, I know people love Chelsea because she's awesome at what she does. But with that character, I've been told this too, and I know it. But I'm like, she can afford the loss
she can go
in a
places.
way. And because you can take that character and start talking, cutting promos where the money is, and you'll be over. You
give her you give her a heel faction. She gets maybe
she's so
roll up win for a title.
So
you know what I mean? She's so clean. She's so just like the delivery, she nails it. She makes everyone look good. When Jade had her propped up for a move, Chelsea's just no, just flailing around.
But yeah,
great.
anytime I can get more Chelsea Green, anytime she can get more screen time, I'm a fan. I'm glad that they do seem to be using her a lot more. I mean, she had that bit at the Slammies that she did where she tried to take Drew's Slammy, and
it was fun. It was entertaining.
Yeah, and her just constantly complaining to Adam Pearce is great. It's great.
It's so good.
She's fantastic. I'm glad she's getting more time. I didn't have a problem with it. It made sense to me. It all made sense to me.
Yeah, I felt like the squashes, I don't know, I was watching Ups and Downs with Simon Miller, and shout out to the homie, and I was just he was saying people were mad about the squash matches that were around him. They were complaining about it. But what's weird is it didn't come across that way on TV at all. It felt like everything was white hot the entire night. I don't know if I'm tripping, but I felt like whenever they would announce something, for example, Sheamus coming back, the crowd reacted. It was very clear moments when the crowd needed to react, they were there. So I felt like that was a quite bizarre. But that being said, though, it takes us into our Fatal 4-Way match. Actually, before that, though, wanted to get your guys' thoughts real quick on the camera move. On the camera move from Monday Night Raw. Because they take risks, but this one, I didn't like it. I didn't like it.
The one where Dom hits the camera?
The Dom swipe. The Dom
you
swipe.
Son of a bitch. It was a great camera move.
Hold on. I felt like the camera move was good, but I felt like they had stayed on the walking shot for way too long. And I understand what the intention was, and they nailed it. Everything that they did, they nailed it. But there was something about just how long they were on that shot, and the commentators were filling, and it just felt like they could have just cut into their overhead, their what do you call that?
Jib cam?
Their jib cam, or their static camera. They could have just gone to the static and showed Indy Hartwell and Candice LeRae in the ring, and I think that just would have been okay. Like but it was cool. It was cool. I'm not saying again. Like I like them taking risks. I'm all right with it.
If I had any complaint, it would just be that it was a little contrived. In the fictional world, it felt contrived because like there's this chaos happening and the guy goes, "Get out of here," and then all of a sudden they're perfectly there waiting for the camera guy to come out of that particular hallway, even though it was impromptu.
Exactly.
It felt a little like, I'm like, why are you all staged for something that is kind of like
this was supposed to be impromptu, but it felt way too planned for it being impromptu.
That was my only thing.
So that's where it's like it kind of took me out of that. But again, I liked them taking risks. Lee Finn, cook, Poppy, cook, Lee. All right, do what you got to do.
I ain't mad at it.
I'm with it. All right.
Keep doing your thing, Lee.
I had to get that off my chest real fast as a little bit, with my fellow production nerds. Okay, here we go. Fatal 4-Way. This was what we wanted to see moving forward of where these stories are going to go. So we'll start first with Big Bronson Reed. He is the Andre the Giant Memorial Battle Royale winner, and they're obviously trying to, continue to put him as a force. I'm almost certain I named him as my Rebook 24/7 champion at one point, and you guys told me I was crazy. Yeah, last week I said it, and you guys said I was crazy. But again, who was the role player in this match? Again, who was the guy that made people look good? Bronson Reed. Okay.
I'm not saying he's not bad, but he's just not the star of the week. He's fantastic.
Stop hating. All right.
I'm loving.
It was brilliant. Okay. But a few notes though. We had, Jey Uso. He continues to look good coming out of Mania. Ricochet had a good presentation. Like, had they done that?
Yes,
the darkness and they haven't done that since NXT
days. When he
days.
first debuted on the main roster, right? He was doing that, but that's the first time they've had him do that in a long time.
Yeah, and the crowd was hot for Ricochet. They were into whatever he was going to do.
Before he did that 450 was great. That was so great.
I loved it.
I'm sorry.
Yeah. Because I was watching with my wife, and she said it. She said, she was like, "Why did he say I'm sorry?" I was like, "Oh, because his wife is the ring announcer, and he's probably just letting her know that he's going to get himself killed right now."
And he did, yeah.
Yeah,
he did.
And he did. But, it served a purpose, right? Ricochet was the human highlight reel in that one, so he was the guy who was getting all those big moments. But the story was centered around Drew McIntyre and CM Punk, and the tale continues. Punk continues to be a chicken shit babyface. Like, I'm going to coin the term right now. He is a chicken shit babyface. He grabs Drew's leg, prevents him from being able to hit the Claymore. Jey Uso hits him with a spear, the big splash, and Jey is going to fight Damian Priest for the World Heavyweight title. Fellas, how did we feel about this match? Who wants to go first?
I'll go first.
Jake,
first of all, how dare you call him chicken shit face? How dare? He's a baby. He's a baby face bully.
That's what he's doing.
I will give you that. He's a babyface bully because it's
okay. Fine, babyface bully.
Heelish shit to a heelish person. So in a way, it's just giving him a taste of his own medicine. I'm just doing the same shit to you. So
it is, and it's very perfect for Punk. So
he's being a troll. That's what he is. He's a babyface troll.
Yeah,
that's what he's doing.
Yeah.
I thought it was a good match. I was really
that,
surprised. I thought it was going to be Ricochet. I really thought Ricochet was going to be the one to come out of that.
I'm glad it wasn't. I'm glad it wasn't. But I thought so too. With him coming out, because I just don't want him to get fed to Damian Priest and
That's
lose.
fair.
Like, I just don't think that really helps him all
that
much.
I thought it was good. I thought it did exactly what it needed to do. It continued several stories. I think we're going the direction of where I think there will be something between Reed and Ricochet is my guess. And Jay's going to move on to Damian Priest. Drew still has to worry about Punk. I thought it planted a lot of seeds. I thought it did exactly what it needed to do for a big number one contender match after WrestleMania. So I think it was good.
And it showed too, They put a
Yeah,
lot
and
of
that was
stock
the
in
thing I
these
liked.
guys,
It wasn't
right?
it wasn't
You know,
the
they
usual
got
suspects.
like
It was
yeah.
Bronson Reed. It was Ricochet. It was, I mean, Drew makes sense being in there. Yeah, but like, you know,
New faces.
Yeah, Oos getting in there,
Yeah.
having his opportunity. Now he's number one contender. Like, yeah, I liked it. Like, it felt fresh. That's what was great.
Yeah.
And what was cool about that is that you had the two guys who were kind of not generally main event guys, and Reed and Ricochet, so they're being in that mix. But then even you talk about like the usual suspects. What I actually kind of dig, though, in a way, is that like I know we called him main event Jey Uso, but he kind of had a brief run doing main event shit with Roman, and then was kind of. But like the idea though, still that like. It's not like he got shotgunned and then shoved back down. Like he's the usual suspects now. If there's a main event,
true.
if there's a number one contendership tourney, his ass is in it. And like it's not like a or a no way he's winning. He's now like what early Randy Orton was. I'm like maybe that's a big comparison, but
Also,
that kind of like where like he's going to be in the main events from like the next couple of years. He's going to keep cycling in and out of those main events.
And if you would allow me a little bit of fantasy booking real fast, brother, all right, I actually do think that there's a good direction that they can go with a Jey Uso who becomes kind of in a similar position, doubtful of whether or not he actually is the main event, because I don't think he will be beating Damian Priest for that title next week. I can't see that. Well, actually, is it next week? I don't remember if they're going to fight on Raw next week, but yeah, Sammy and Gable's next week in Montreal, so they're probably not going to do that then. But I can't see that happening even then, because I think that they really do want to give Damian Priest a little bit of time with that belt to see what they can.
But I think it's again.
So I'm curious if that's going to lead to a Jay kind of like Sammy situation-ish where he's just doubting himself. He's seeing all these people succeed around him. He won his match in Mania, but like, I don't know. There's some cool ways that they can traverse with Jey Uso.
For sure. With Shinsuke of like, they know Jay's going to go out there and put on a great show with Priest. I mean, obviously they have the faith in Priest, but like, it's like, hey, let's put him in there with somebody who's going to put on a great match with him. Have some people. Exactly.
People like him. People react to him. They're into him.
A great starter program with him. I think. I mean, it makes all kinds of sense.
Yeah, it definitely does. Well, one last thing that we'll talk about from Monday Night Raw, then we'll move on to AEW, which was the promo that opened the show. Triple H comes out. They give a nice video for Cody. It was cool. It was just funny because they were playing on that tiny TV because they had trimmed down their set. So I thought that was not tiny. It was actually quite big, but in the arena it looked tiny. So that was cool. But the thing that we're all talking about is that The Rock comes out and Cody's doing his thing. The Rock makes his way out, and then they proceed to have depending on who you ask, either one of the most engaging promos to a Mania, a Raw after Mania, or one of the most awkward ones.
Man, I'll tell you,
it was quite awkward at times.
Anyone else?
Yeah,
get a little hot and bothered because, whew.
Ooh, yeah.
You can.
Little show me yours, I'll show you mine.
You can hold mine.
I'll touch yours, and you can hold mine.
100%.
Title of your wrestling sex tape? Yeah.
Yeah, no, I was a bit uneasy, but outside that, like, I felt like, isn't it like a thing not to have someone else like hold your belt, like your opponent holding your belt? I don't know. That just
I was surprised
weird.
he actually let him do it.
Yeah, like he should have been like, I'm never letting this belt go, and then The Rock just be like, we'll see about that.
This is the thing you tried to keep out of my hands, so I'm not putting it in yours.
Right. I get what they were trying to do with The Rock, like, oh, this feels right, so you're getting this, foreshadowing. Rock's going to be coming after this at some point. But I think they could have done it without physically handing the belt over.
Yeah. I agree. It was so bizarre, but. Then The Rock says at the end of the promo, "Don't break my heart next time," or something like that. Which
don't break my heart again.
Yes. Which was like,
and
then he handed him. So, any theories? What did he hand him?
We're going to talk more humorously later.
Real
theories. But legitimately, my actual, if I were writing the storyline kind of thing. I think it's got to be something, especially with the line, "Don't ever break my heart again." I think it's something pertaining. They're going to give us a backstory finally on why Cody stepped aside. something from their agreement. Maybe it's the pencil that they signed a little agreement with, or the note, or a tape of the meeting they had. I don't know, something to do with like, we fucking agreed to this to make this whole thing. You fucked all of it up. That's why I went so hard at you. Let's not forget. Don't you forget you agreed to whatever this deal was way back when.
Yeah,
that's where my head was at. And because even Cody, he sold it. He was like, it wasn't like, what the fuck are you doing? It was like, oh shit, okay, like I see what you're getting at.
Oh man, I think that it's I actually think it's a piece of Roman's necklace, like one of the shells off of his that he wore in before the match.
But what was the context of that?
You beat the head of the table. You broke my heart by taking down my tribal chief. This is a trophy. You know what this is. Don't ever cross my family again. You know, you proved that you earned this, that you deserved it, but don't you ever fuck with my family.
So we have the theory that it is something related to Cody, or put my hand over here, something related to Cody dropping that thing, or it's something related to Rock and Roman's family.
Now, what would be cool to me, and this I'll hop in a little fantasy booking, is if head of the table and tribal chief were like the Black Panther. You gain the helm of the Black Panther by defeating the Black Panther in that battle. And now Cody is the head of the table.
Like it or not.
Whether the bloodline like it or not, he's the head of the table now.
Whether Cody likes it or not.
Exactly. It's this mantle, a burden that's been placed upon his shoulders. And now he's the tribal chief, and it's like, well, what do I do with them? What am I supposed to do? I don't know.
There are so many ways that this can go.
And then you have Rock come back later to reclaim the... I don't know.
We will find that out later. That's
what's great.
Is actual long-term storytelling. But I do wonder, there was something that Rock said that I really did like, though. He said to him, whether you're the champion or you're not, I'm coming back for you. Mm-hmm. And that told me, okay, this can go any way. Like Cody could still lose the belt. Rock comes back. We get a little blood feud, or Rock comes back for a championship match. There's a way that this can go. But that line kind of drew that for me quite clearly. And I like that.
It's a vendetta.
I like that. And because the last thing that I want is for WWE to go into year-long booking again, like they did back in the Brock Roman era, where it was just like, didn't matter anything that they did, it was still going to lead up to the same main event every single time, Roman versus Brock, Roman versus Brock. So I'm hoping that we get a little bit more of a where are they going, and I think we will, because you just gotta, even though they proved that even with knowing where the story was going, they could deliver on the story. Now it's like, let's see how they cook with that chapter ending, and now they get to write a new one. So that's super fun. So we'll nice little button on WWE there. It was great. WrestleMania was awesome. The Slammies, the Hall of Fame, the NXT Stand and Deliver was incredible. I mean, WWE across the board knocked it out of the park. They have a lot to be proud of. But then we take our way over to AEW, and things have been very weird over in the land of All Elite Wrestling, because firstly, though, they also had some awesome shows this week. With Collision was a great show. Started late because of baseball. Everyone thought it was because of Mania. That wasn't the case, but it was still exciting to watch it. Good matches. We also had Ring of Honor Supercard of Honor. Mark Briscoe winning the Ring of Honor world title was awesome, and just a
Billy
good moment
Starks,
for him. Yeah, and
she faked a neck injury. I was like,
dude,
what the fuck?
That was
that
wild.
Was nuts. Yeah.
I saw it and I thought, my God, this is real. And she, just brilliantly done. And everyone was talking about it. That's what you want. It was really well done. But this takes us to the announcement that came on Collision that the Young Bucks are going to be airing the footage from All In. But at no point have they mentioned the names Jack Perry, nor the reason why this is happening, which is CM Punk. But they have said that they're not trolling. So, gentlemen, Matt, I know you have opinions.
Yeah.
You have thoughts and opinions. Yes,
But that's normally, that voice is reserved for, like, I've got a different idea on how this beautifully thing can be booked. This one, I'm just not happy with.
Yeah. I have thoughts and opinions.
So I think it's just, it's bad all around. The only positive is that it might, we don't know yet, I imagine it will to some degree, pop a rating. But I think that's literally the only good that can come out of it, because here's the thing. My initial thing was, it's the Young Bucks who teased it, and so I'm like, oh, this could work for their characters. They tease it. We're gonna tease you with this, and then it's footage of Ricky Starks drinking coffee and them talking to him, like it's this whole, and get heat on them, but even that would be bad heat. It would be we don't want to see this heat. And so then the alternative is they do have something, which I don't. If there was actually footage, how would it have not leaked by now? How would somebody have not posted that shit on the internet? How would somebody not? Anyway, that is, again, doesn't matter. There is something out there. And again, all it is, though, to me, is it's drawing attention off a guy who used to work there. That's what they're relying on, people's interest in him and that story, that backstage, not on-screen story, to get people to watch their on-screen show.
Yeah.
And matches and wrestlers or whatever. I don't like
counter
that tactic.
It and only say, I will counter it to say that the Young Bucks' character now has very much been this. Like, this breaking of the fourth wall, this very, like, we're in charge, like, the fact that they sit in the back, they put all the promo for Okada, like, they're going around, they're like bad-mouthing some employees and then acting like they fire them and then they don't fire them, like really Michael Scott type of shit. Like, that is what I feel like the character, like, the gimmick is. So it doesn't feel like it's completely out of line. If anything, this reinforces the fact that this gimmick is what it is, which is, very much a caricature of, like, people's perception of Matt and Nick Jackson and, like, who they are as individuals. And then they're just gonna own their turn. Like, people, the thing that made me laugh is when this happened, the prevailing thought, I remember in all the Dirt Sheet podcasts, would be like, oh, they should take this and make some money off of this and blah, blah, blah. And they're kind of doing that. They're kind of doing that. And now that they did it, now that they're doing it, people are like, you shouldn't be doing this with a guy that's not there right now. But it's also like, I mean, the CM Punk did not do himself any favors with his just, like, tell-all whatever. So when you really think about it, it's like it's a problem between these people. It's a little weird, but I'm interested. I'm interested from a narrative perspective where they're going to take this.
I get the whole, like, well, CM Punk did this, but he didn't do it on fucking Raw.
It's true. He didn't do it on Raw.
He did it on his own. When that's the thing. Like, this reeks of Eric Bischoff. Like, this reeks of WCW desperation.
Stunt booking.
Yeah. Yes. Like it's not a good look. Like, what do you gain? Sure, ratings maybe, but what do you gain? You're still talking about someone who's at another company, and that has nothing to do. Like, what does it have to do with anything? Like,
because you won't get resolution out of it.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. It's not like they're going to fight Punk. It's not like they're going to, like, what do you gain from it? And that's my whole thing is, like, this just seems so middle school. This seems so middle school to me of like, did you hear that Jessica's talking shit about me over at Waller High? And it's like, girl, I heard that Jessica was talking shit about you, and you should see the video that she sent me with Brendan at Erica's party last week. Oh my God.
Oh my God.
Like,
oh my God.
Like, I get that wrestling is supposed to be, to a degree, melodrama, but my God, like, I just don't see narratively. I don't see the value in it. What, like, if like, to, Jessica, you need to get over Brandon. Don't text him. Don't call him. Don't talk about him. He doesn't exist. Do that. Like, fuck. If just act like it doesn't bother you. I get that sometimes that sucks. That's what you have to do. But like, it accomplished exactly what CM Punk was talking about, and probably what CM Punk was trying to do. He got under your skin. Like, that's what it did. And I don't see what you gain from doing this. I really don't.
There's the argument could be, and it's very meta, and I don't like it. Is this is the point, right? People like us, even us,
because you're talking about it.
Exactly.
Bad press is good press.
Yeah.
Which I still think like, yep, you're gonna get buzz but I do think it's ultimately.
But
now, I hope to be proven wrong.
Because
that episode of Dynamite is going to be great. That episode of Dynamite is going to be really good.
No, it won't. Not necessarily. Well, that's the thing. This alone does not.
The matches are going to be good
because that's all anyone's going to give a shit about is, let me see the footage. I don't care about this match. Where's the footage? That's all fair. Anyone is going to be talking about. It's taking away from everyone who's there, who does need the highlight, who does need the attention,
new stories and new characters,
who wants to be there. That's who it's taken away from. Like, I mean, because what are the options?
So don't forget, there is going to be a tag team match between the Young Bucks and FTR as well.
Right.
That's going to happen for the tag team titles that night. That's what I'm saying. It's actually going to be a pretty good episode of Dynamite because you're going to have that. You're also going to have Dustin Rhodes versus Samoa Joe for the World Heavyweight title. So there is I don't disagree. I guess my whole thing is just that I do feel as if there is an opportunity here for them to do. It's hard for me to like reserve judgment because they've been so coy and so specific about the wording that they've used across all of these different like outlets that have come out, like the ESPN article, the Sports Illustrated article that mostly has Tony's quotes in there. I mean, they at no point do they mention anything about Punk or Perry, and maybe they do, maybe they show it. But again, it's just like
they just said.
To your point, it's like, does that good?
Yeah.
Is that
because that's the thing? Is what are the options? It's either Bucks reenacting something, even though they say that it's not. Okay, so they say it's legit. It's legit footage from backstage, and you're exactly right. They didn't say CM Punk, so it's what, just some regular footage of like. But the only reason people are going to be watching is because they are assuming that they're talking about the interaction between Jack Perry and CM Punk, and if that's not what's delivered, no one will be happy. No one will be happy. Great, you got great ratings. Guess what they'll be next week?
But if they do deliver it, and it does show, because apparently one of the rumors that I've been seeing float around is that it's apparently like Punk just missing all the hits and then tries to go for the choke out and then they get split up. So it's like then at that point, again, I don't know if that's true. I mean, I don't want to go too far into that shit, but I just think it's like, where do they pivot from here with this? Where do you take? Because also Tony Khan said specifically there is a storyline reason this is happening. He did say that in the Sports Illustrated thing.
Pull the rabbit out of the hat, please. I hope you have some.
I don't think he's pulling it out of his hat. That's the problem.
But regardless, like, look, I'm with Jake. I think it doesn't seem like a very good idea, but I want to be proven wrong, and I want them to I want to go, oh, okay. I want to go, that's clever. I don't want this to suck. I think it will, but I want to be proven wrong. And I think they have the people who could do it, but I hope they pull it off.
I hope that there's a purpose to it. I hope I just hope it's not a situation of when you sling shit, everyone gets dirty. I just hope that it's not that. And you can say all you want, well, Punk started it, and Punk, I mean, he was asked directly about it. But still, you ain't got to respond to it. I don't know.
That's true. He did say some really like messed up things, though. I will say, like having read the transcript, it wasn't like it was borderline on like just being salacious in certain areas where you're just like, oh, I mean, he just like flat out was talking about them as a business, which I think there's a lot to be said. But you know what? Punk is in a place where he clearly wants to be right now. So good for him.
I thought what Adam Copeland said was enough. I like that. What he said, we know why he said it. It was succinct. It was perfect. I 100% agree with everything you said. Should have been left there.
Yeah. I guess my thing is I'm tired of, and maybe it is a little bit of the guys in AEW that kind of propagate this a bit, right? But I am tired of the tribalism. It's so pathetic.
And so why are you driving
it's so
it?
Annoying.
That's the whether it's for storyline or not.
It's true.
You're driving the tribalism that you say that you don't want. You say that wrestling should be a celebration, and it should be. So treat it like that. Like, I don't know.
Yeah.
Yes. Get down in the mud.
Yeah, but that also is something for CM Punk as
Agreed.
well. I
yes.
still think like you still got to be an adult in that situation, and I think that is also that needs to be said too. Everyone just needs to be adults. That's it, plain and simple. Well, hopefully it leads to something unique narratively for them, because I do think that AEW has a lot of really good things coming around the corner. Dynasty is going to be there. I said it was a world championship matchup on Dynamite tonight, but it's actually an eliminator match for Dustin Rhodes and Samoa Joe. I expect that match to be a banger. There's going to be a lot of good coming out of this, a lot of good matches coming out of this. We'll see, though, what happens after the fact, and then, of course, the build-up to Dynasty. In any case, though, let's go ahead and move on to our 24/7 Champion of the Week. I got my nomination. Who do you guys have? You guys have anyone? Do you want me to go first?
No, I'll go.
I would like to nominate Lee Fitting as our 24/7 Champion of the Week. The man has changed production in WWE for the better. He takes risks, and I think it's good. I think it fits. Put the strap on him.
I had a different answer, but I like that.
What's your answer, though? I want to know what your answer is.
I was going to say Samantha
That was mine, too.
Ooh, I'm okay.
Mine was also Samantha Irvin.
You know what? Let's give it to Samantha, because it was a particularly wonderful weekend. Lee's going to be doing cool shit at all these pay-per-views going forward. He'll have a chance. Yeah. And so will she. But she just had a particularly awesome weekend.
The emotion
she was great.
in her, just fantastic. Fantastic.
Yeah, top to bottom, she was fantastic. Samantha Irvin, you are our Rebook Champion of the Week. And I'm gonna tweet this, and hopefully she sees it. She can just know. We, as production nerds, we salute you. All right, and our closing question of the day for this week's episode of Rebooked is: what did The Rock give Cody? But wrong answers only. Sound off in the chat. Let us know on Spotify. I'll put the question up there for the Q&A as well. Do you guys have any wrong answers? I have. You remember those the squeegee hand things that you would throw against the wall?
The sticky hands?
The sticky hands?
Yeah.
I think he gave him that.
He gave him a sticky hand?
He gave him the sticky hands. Okay. That's what I think he gave him.
Okay.
Jake, what do you think he gave him? Or Matt, who wants to go first?
No, Jake, go.
Jake, yeah.
Well, I think the promo that Rock cut was telling about what was given to him.
You're going to steal my answer.
He said, am I? Well, we'll see. It must be a good one then. He had to give him something he knows what it is by feel, right? And he said, don't you ever break my heart again. And what did we have earlier? Can I hold yours? You can hold mine. Rock gave him his hotel room key.
Never mind.
I like that. I like that.
It was very sexually charged, and
boy. And then they could share belts together.
And I think, I don't want to speak for Cody, but Dwayne wasn't the only Rock standing in that ring. That's all I'm saying.
All right, Matt, what do you got?
Okay, that was not my answer. It's a good answer, though. For me, I think I agree with Jake. I think the promo was very telling. The Rock had his heart broken, his feelings hurt. And though it is harder to tell what it is by touch, Cody, it's just one of those moments, the hands touching, you know what that little crumpled piece of paper was, because it was paper. It was a paper copy of the IMDb review that Cody gave of Black Adam, because he, like many of us, was not too pleased with that theater.
Did you see there was a sign in the crowd that said Black Adam wasn't a very good movie or something like that? I just thought that was so funny. It's just like, you know what though? Weirdly enough, I enjoyed Black Adam. I actually thought it did exactly. It was not like the greatest thing ever. It was the most popcorny of popcorn flicks, but it was cool to just see him run around and just beat shit up with barely any plot. I was like, cool, man. I got my matinee money's worth. I walked out of the theater. I was satisfied.
So, Jake, do you want to be the lead host now, or should it be me? I mean, clearly can't be trusted. But this guy.
Yeah.
Oh, guys, listen, okay? I'm just saying. There's, it wasn't...
Flavors of ice cream.
Flavors of ice cream. Flavors of ice cream.
Well,
sometimes people just want
Nathan
popcorn
Fielder made
flavor.
ice cream that tasted like shit. And so, yeah, flavors of ice cream indeed.
Yeah, that makes sense. All right, folks. Well, that is going to do it for us. If you managed to make it this far, I should have promoted it in the middle of the episode, but I'm a bum. Make sure you check out our Friday episode. The question that we're going to be answering in that video: who should Cody's next challenger be? That is going to be Friday's video, and it's going to come out before SmackDown, so you guys could join us in the theory crafting, in the evaluation, in the thought process, in the fantasy booking, brother. But that is it for another episode of Rebook. For myself, GB, Matt, and Jake, we thank you so much for tuning in week out. We're growing this sumbitch one way or another, and we thank you all so much for being on the journey. We'll catch you next time. Peace. Later.